and welcome to Craft with Sarah and day 5 of the Halloween Craft Countdown for 2021. We're making more Halloween greetings cards today, and I'm going to show you how you can use digital stamps in Cricut Design Space to make gorgeous handmade coloured cards. We're going to go and find some lovely digital stamps from creativefabrica.com and then bring them into Design Space and make these gorgeous little backgrounds. So on these cards, I've got all of the cats in the background, which I've left in black and white on this one. And then in the middle, we've pulled another graphic out and layered it up with 3D foam pads and coloured with alcohol markers to really bring it out and make it pop out of the page. You could also colour in the whole of the design if you prefer. So here's one where I've coloured in everything. Let's jump over to Creative Fabrica and download some graphics. First, we need to choose our digital stamps. The website I'm going to use is called creativefabrica.com. I love this website. It has hundreds of thousands of graphics, fonts and SVGs to choose from, so I use it all the time in my Cricut crafts. What I really love about Creative Fabrica is that they have a monthly subscription, so you can sign up for a small amount every month, and that gives you unlimited access to download as much as you want from their website without paying any more. If that sounds good to you, check the link in the description. If you sign up through my affiliate link, which is in the description, then you can get your first month's subscription on Creative Fabrica for just $1. It's cancel anytime, so if you just want to take that first month for $1, you can absolutely do that. So let's have a look for some Halloween digital stamps. I'm going to use this search box and type Halloween digital stamp. Nice and easy. And then what we're looking for are these line graphics that kind of look like colouring pages. So you've just got the kind of black outline with the white in the middle. There's no colour on it. And there are loads of different ones to choose from. And of course, you don't have to do a Halloween one. You could make whatever kind of card you want. I'm going to use this one, which is called Cat and Pumpkin Halloween. And I'll add the link to this in the description of the video too, so that you can grab the exact same kit if you want to follow along with me completely. Now, because I have the monthly Creative Fabrica subscription, mine's showing me a download button. If you don't have the subscription or if you're not logged into your account, then there'll probably be a purchase button instead, but it won't be for very much, probably just a few dollars. But like I said, it really is worth it to sign up to their monthly subscription because then you can download as much as you want from the whole website without paying any more than that subscription cost. Alright, so go ahead and download the file and then it will download a zip folder to your computer. Here's the zip folder that was downloaded, and I've just put mine into a new folder on my computer so that you don't see all my other downloaded items, but yours will probably show up in your downloaded files, and if you're on a Windows computer, then you can normally get that from just clicking into downloads and it should appear in there. Before we can upload the digital stamps into Cricut Design Space, we need to unzip this folder. If you're used to downloading SVGs, then you'll probably already know how to do this, but just in case, I'll show you how to do it. This is how to unzip a folder on a Windows computer. If you're on a Mac or if you're on a mobile device, check the link in the description as I've added some links to articles on how to unzip folders on all of those different types of machines and devices. But for Windows, I'm simply going to right-click on the folder and press Extract All. And then you can choose where you want to save it. So I'm going to put mine in the same place and then just click extract. Now we've got another folder, and this time this is the unzipped one. And you know that because the file name doesn't end in .zip and the little picture of the folder doesn't have the zip running down it. So this one is the one that we want to choose when we're uploading into Design Space. Let's do that now. I've created a new project in Design Space, so now I just need to go to Upload on the left and then press Upload Image. You can then either click Browse to find the files on your computer, or you can click and drag them in. So I'm going to look in here, and then there's two folders, JPG or JPEG, and then PNG or PNG. We want the PNG ones because these will have transparent backgrounds on them, so it will be easier to upload the file. Let's have a little look at what we've got here. And I think I'm going to do this one of the little cat with the witch hat. So let's click and drag that in. So this is loaded, we can see a little preview, and because this is just black and transparent, it doesn't really matter what we're going to choose. I'm going to go for simple and then click continue. Here's my picture, and the reason it's got this checkerboard effect is because it's telling me that this is a transparent background, which is exactly what we want. If yours is showing white in the background, that probably means you've uploaded the JPG instead of the PNG. So if that happens, you'll just need to use this magic wand tool on the top left and go in and delete all of the white. Let's click continue, and then you can either do a cut image or a print and cut image. We will eventually be doing this as a print and cut image, but I'm going to do a cut image to start with, and that's because it's going to give me more flexibility to play about with the design when I'm arranging it on the background of my card. So I'm going to click upload, and now here it is in my recent uploads. So I can just click on it and then press insert images, and here it is. It's really big, it's coming huge, it's 18 inches wide, so I'm just going to resize that to 6 inches so it's a little bit more manageable. And now I'm just going to pause this video and then go and upload some more of the cats from that same set, because I'm going to use several different ones on my card. Here are some of my different cats that I've loaded in. Now it's time to start building up the card. So for now, I'm just going to hide these pictures by going over to the Layers panel and clicking the eye icon next to all of the designs. They are still there, I'm just hiding them for now so that I can make the base of the card. Let's go into Shapes and choose a square. I want to make a 5 by 7 inch card, so I'm going to make the height 7, but first I need to click the little padlock icon to unclose it. Go into Shapes and choose a square. I want to make a 5 by 7 inch card, so click the padlock icon at the top of the width and height box. Change the height to the height of the card you're making, so mine's 7 inches, and then the width should be double the width of the card, so mine will be 10, which is double 5. I'm going to make it a nice Halloweeny purple, and then I want to put a score line down the middle of this so that I can score that with my Cricut machine, and then I'll know exactly where to fold it to fold my card in half. Go into Shapes again and choose a score line, and then make it the height of your card, so mine is 7, and then press select all, and then align and center. It's kind of hard to see because I've used a dark purple, but let's now put the score line exactly in the middle of my card. So now with those two layers still selected, go down the bottom of the Layers panel and press Attach. And that's really important because doing that attach tells Design Space that we want the Cricut to score in that exact place. This is the base of the card, and then I'm going to add a white rectangle on top, which is what I'll put the background images of the cats on. So let's choose another square and make it white. And this time I'm going to make it a little bit smaller than 5 by 7 so that I'll be able to see the border of purple around the edge. Take the padlock again, and this time take a little bit of the width off the width and height. So instead of 5 by 7, I'm going to do 4.75 by 6.75. So I'm just taking 1/4 of an inch off each side. I'm going to feature one of the cats in the middle as a square. And it's easiest if we add in those squares now so that when we're creating the background of all the different cats, we know where's going to be covered up by that square. Let's get another square, and this time I want to keep it as a square, and I'm going to make it that same purple to make a nice little matte layer. I'm actually kind of happy with that size, but to make it easier with the maths in a minute, I'm going to change it to 3 inches. Let's right click and duplicate to make a copy, and then this one will be white, and I'm going to take 1/4 of an inch off each side again, so this becomes 2.75, and that will go in the middle of my card. Next, I'm going to choose the cat design that I want to appear in the square, and this is the one that I'm going to colour in with my alcohol markers. And I want this one, the first one that I uploaded. At the moment, this is appearing behind the card, and if yours is doing that too, go into Arrange and then center front. Now it's at the top, so we can resize it and then just make it so that you're happy with where it's going. And I want it to actually be a little bit overlapped in the square. I'll zoom in using these little arrows on the bottom left. I think I'm actually going to move it down a bit so I can get that little skull. And then across. I quite like leaving white space. It gives a nice effect. I like how this is looking, but I don't like the pieces that are sitting outside of the white. I need to cut them away. To do that, click on your white square and then press duplicate to make a copy. And then we're going to line up these two squares. So click one in the layers panel and drag it so that it's roughly on top of the other one. Then press Ctrl or Shift on your keyboard and choose the other white square. And then go align and center so that they're perfectly one on top of the other. I'm then going to drag my cat to the top of the layers and check I'm still happy. And if I am, with the cat layer selected, press Ctrl or Shift and choose one of the other squares. And then down the bottom of the layers panel, press Slice. This will cut it apart. So now we've got this outer part we don't need. Let's delete this. And then we've also got these other two slice results layers, which we don't need. So click one in the layers panel, press delete, and then the same with the other one. And then we need to change this cat and the white square into a print then cut image, because at the moment the Cricut's going to try and cut out this cat. We don't want that. We want it to print on our home printer and then just cut the square. So let's select both those layers, click the cat, press Ctrl or Shift and choose the square. And then down the bottom, press Flatten. And Flatten will turn it into a print then cut layer. So you see my lines got a little bit thinner. And this is how it's going to look when it is all printed on my computer. Now it's time to do the background. Let's turn on these other cats that we added in earlier. I'm going to make them smaller and then drag them in the layers panel so that they're above my white rectangle, but they're still below the square. And this is because I'm going to be making a background. I'm just going to get all these into position before I start worrying about anything else. And they need to be made quite a bit smaller still. Okay. Now we're basically going to do the same thing. We're going to position all of these cats to make a background pattern and then slice off any pieces that are outside of the rectangle. So just like before, we need to make a copy of that rectangle. So let's click it in the layers panel and press duplicate. Roughly drag that on top and then make sure it's perfect by selecting both of the rectangles, go align and center. And then for the second rectangle, I'm going to drag it down in the layers panel so that it sits on top of the other one. And this means we can see the cats. So now we just need to have a little play and get these into position. You'll notice my cat just squidged up then when I resized it. That's because the little padlock is open. I don't want that. Let's undo. And then make sure it's closed, which it is now. You can just click it to close it. I want it to resize in proportion so that it doesn't start looking a little bit strange. And now this is actually my favorite part of the whole project, which is creating the background. So you can just position all of your little images so that they're going to be peeking out around your main picture. I'm going to need a few more, so I'm duplicating these as I go. And it doesn't matter if they're covering anything else up because we're going to fix that once we've got them all into place. As well as rotating and resizing the designs, you can also flip them to add some extra visual interest. To do that, just go to Flip and then Flip Horizontal. So let's have a play. You don't want to put two next to each other that are really similar. We want some nice variation in the different designs. Let's have that one there, I think. And let's make another pumpkin. I'll flip this one and have my little vampire cat down near the bottom. Alright, so I think I'm happy with that. You can of course play as much or as little as you want. You could make the designs really small and have loads of them, or you could add in some little stars or other fillers in the space. But for now, I'm going to leave it like this. Now, just like we did with our first cat, we need to cut off all of the excess that is appearing outside of the lines. First, we need to move all of the background images onto one layer using the weld function. So click one in the Layers panel and then press Shift or Control on your keyboard and choose all of the other images that are part of your background. With them all selected, go down to the bottom of the Layers panel and press Weld. And that's joined them all down, so they're now only on one layer, which means we can slice it out from one of those rectangles. The reason we welded it is that Cricut only lets you slice 2 layers at a time. So by welding it, we have now got 2 layers, the one with the cats and then the rectangle. Let's select both of those and then press Slice. It might take a little while because it's got quite a lot that it's working with. And then we've now got this layer, which is the outside. We don't need that. Let's delete it. The next one we do need, and then the bottom 2 are where it's cut out of the rectangle, so we can delete those. Now we just need to select the cats and the rectangle and press Flatten. So now this is joined together. If I pull it off, you can see this is what it's going to look like. So we'll print it on our home printer and then the Cricut will cut around the edge of the rectangle. Now you might think that this is ready for us to print and cut, and in an ideal world it would be. However, when I did this as a test, I had some major problems with it cutting out around the edge of the rectangles of the digital stamps that we've made. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what my Cricut did when I tried to print and cut it exactly as we've made it here, and then I'll show you how to fix it so that you don't have to have the hours and hours of pain that I did trying to work out why it wasn't cutting right. This is what it did the first time I cut it out before I did the hack that I'm about to show you. So I made the very, very rookie mistake of colouring it all in before I put it into my Cricut to do the print and cut. So when it got destroyed by my Cricut, I was very, very upset. So I would highly recommend you print it and cut it with the Cricut before you colour it in, just in case. So, as you know, it was supposed to cut a perfect rectangle around the edge. Instead, it did that. Look at that. All of that colouring was ruined, and it took a long time to work out how to fix it, but I did come up with a fix, and then I tried that on a few different designs and it worked every time. So here is how to stop that happening to your print and cut. So after about 20 sheets of paper and trying all different things, trying to work out why it wasn't cutting properly, I figured out a way to fix it. So you're going to need to probably apply this fix too to make sure the same thing doesn't happen to you. Of course, you might be lucky and you could do it exactly as it's appearing on the screen now and it cuts perfectly. But I mean, if you don't want to risk it, and to be honest, I probably wouldn't risk it, this hack is pretty easy to do and it will fix it, or it should fix it. It fixed it for me, so hopefully it will fix it for you too. So what we need to do is add a rectangle slightly bigger than this rectangle around the edge of the card. So I'm going to go into shapes and choose a square, and I'll make it a bright colour for now just so we can see it. And then this over here, I'm just going to write down on a bit of paper next to me the size of this. So 4.751 by 6.759. All right, so I'm going to click this one and make it slightly bigger than that. Let's untick the padlock so I can change the width and height. So my width was 4.751, so I'm just going to go 4.8. Just a tiny bit bigger. And then the height was 6.759, so let's go 6.8. So it is just a really tiny bit bigger. If we drag this below the print and cut, you can see that it's just adding this tiny little edge. You can barely even see it, it's that small. But this seemed to fix it, so then the Cricut realised it was cutting around the edge of the blue. So let's change this blue to a white. And then we want to center our cat images on the new square. So with the new square selected, press Shift, and then in the Layers panel, click on the Print and Cut we've already got, and then go Align, Center. And now our Print and Cut is exactly in the middle of the other square. And now we need to flatten these layers. So down the bottom of the Layers panel, press Flatten. And now there is all one Print and Cut image, and it should now cut perfectly around the edge of the rectangle. I need to do the same thing for the other cat in the middle, so I'm just going to write down the size, 2.75, basically by 2.75 again. So let's get a little square, and then 2.75, so I'm going to try 2.8. And then select both of those layers, center align them, and then drag the Print and Cut above the square. Change the square to white, select both of those, and then flatten them. So now this is ready to actually go through and do the Print and Cut. I'll just drag this one back into position so you can see a little bit better how it's looking. And don't worry that we've got this tiniest little gap now where we've made this bigger rectangle, because when you sort of colour it in and when it cuts out, you're not going to see that. So I'm going to save it again. Let's save it as something different just in case. Let's call it with rectangles. There we go. And now when I click Make It, here's my first Print and Cut, here's my second one, and then it will cut the rectangle and the square out. And then I've got my base card and the little square. I'm going to change it to A4 paper because I only really have A4 paper. So now it's going to need 2 sheets to do, but that's absolutely fine. So I'm going to follow through the steps now and get this all printed and cut. Hopefully it will cut it properly, fingers crossed. If you're new to Print and Cut and you've not done it before, or you'd like a few tips, check the description of this video because I've included another video link in there which is all about Print and Cut, where I actually show how you put your paper in the Cricut machine and what happens when it cuts and all of that fun stuff. And here is my lovely little cat background all cut out perfectly thanks to those extra rectangles. Now I'm not going to colour in the background of this one. All I'm going to colour in is the little cat on top, and that's because I like the effect of having this all in colour and this just in black and white. But if you want to, of course, you can colour both in. Now when you're printing this, you need to think about the type of materials you're going to be using to colour. I'm using these alcohol markers from Nuvo Tonic Studios. You can also get lots of other different brands of alcohol markers, or you can use any type of pens, felt tips, pencils, pastels, whatever you want to use. The type of material that you've printed on will show how your alcohol markers will display. So here I've just done some examples. This is glossy photo paper, and then this is just normal cardstock, and you can see the difference. So this is the same 2 shades of orange on each, and it looks way more vibrant on the glossy photo paper than it does on the standard paper. I'm using standard paper because I wanted the more muted colours. I think it's a little bit more Halloween-y. So here's my cat, and I'm going to put this scrap bit of paper underneath because I'm bound to go over the edges and I don't want to draw on my table. So one thing I quite like to do with these alcohol markers is because they come in so many different shades, you can add some extra sort of gradients and things. Now I am by no means an expert on alcohol markers. I've only just got them a couple of months ago and haven't really played with them yet, and I'm definitely not an artist by any stretch of the imagination, but I really like the effect you can make by blending the different shades of similar colours together. So I'm just going to show it to you on the pumpkin, and then I'll go ahead and colour the rest of it off camera. Otherwise, you'll be sat here for a very long time. So this is my lightest shade of orange, and I've just put a little bit down the middle of each of those bits of pumpkin. And then this is a slightly darker shade, and I'm going to fill in the rest of the pumpkin shape with this darker colour. And then I'm kind of going into that lighter orange a tiny bit so that the colours will blend together. And with these alcohol markers, as you're colouring in with them, you can sort of see all of your brush strokes as you're drawing. But as it dries and the alcohol evaporates, it becomes a lot more fluid and solid looking, so you don't see your brush strokes as much, which is really nice. It makes it look a bit neater in my opinion. And these colours are just kind of bleeding into each other. The card I'm using does bleed quite a lot. And again, I like that for alcohol markers. I want the colours to sort of run into each other. I'm almost done with this second orange. There we go. And then you can take it one step further by introducing a third colour. So here is an even darker orange. And for this one, I'm just going to go down all of these black edges, outlining it a little bit with this darker colour, just to introduce a bit of shadow. Now you can use these for a real artistic effect where you get the correct shadows based on what the lighting would be, but I am not artistic enough to be able to work that out. So this is the way that I do it. If you have any tips for using these pens, let me know in the comments. I would love to learn a little bit more about them. But now I'm just going down all the little dash lines in the pumpkin with this darker colour. And then I'm just going to do a little bit of colouring all along the bottom to create kind of that shadow effect of it being darker at the bottom. So there you go, that is now looking really nice with the 3 different shades of orange. It adds a whole new dimension than if you'd have just coloured it in one colour. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in the rest of it, and then we'll put the card together. So now my little kitty cat is all coloured in, it's time to assemble the card. First I'm going to fold my base card down that score line that we made in Design Space, and then stick my background on top. You could use double-sided tape for this, but I'm using glue. The glue I'm using is called Kalal. I really like it for handmade cards because it doesn't bend or warp the paper like some glues can do. And the benefit of using glue over double-sided tape is that you've got that wiggle room if you've not quite put it on straight. And I hardly ever put it on straight, so having that bit of room to manoeuvre is always positive for me. I'm going to put that in the middle. There we go. And then I want to glue the cat that I coloured in onto the little purple square. So again, just add some glue on the back. And this little bottle is just a little needle tip applicator bottle from Amazon. It's the same glue that I showed you that I've just put in here to make it easier to use. And then this one goes in the middle too. And then all that's left to do is to put this on the card. So I'm going to turn it over and add some 3D foam pads. The brand I'm using are Dart and Dab, but any foam pads will do. I've cut some of these a little bit smaller so that I don't need to use as many. And I just put a few on the back of here. And it's nice to add these foam pads because it means that your card will have a bit of dimension to it and stick out a bit. I'm adding lots of foam pads on there. And now I can peel the tops off. And this reveals all of that stickiness underneath, which means that we can now just stick this to the middle of the card. I think that is roughly straight. But there, and that is my little handmade card with digital stamps all finished. And of course you could add other embellishments now if you want to, or maybe a little greetings. And as I said, you can colour in the background too. So here's one I did with the background all coloured in, which is a lot more colourful. So it's up to you which version you like best. Do you like the black and white background or the colour background? Let me know in the comments which one is your favourite. I hope that you enjoyed this video on how you can use digital stamps with a Cricut machine to make gorgeous handmade cards. And of course, although I've done these for Halloween, you could use any kind of stamps to make a card for any different occasion. The possibilities really are endless, and there are so many graphics available on creativefabrica.com to choose from. To make sure you don't miss out on any more of the Halloween Craft Countdown posts, go to craftwithsarah.com/Halloween 2021 to sign up. I'll see you tomorrow for day 6, but until then, bye!